Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast, where we connect with the professionals who define what it means to succeed in today's real estate market. Today's guest has built a career on precision, consistency, and a deep market expertise. With over 2 decades of business, that he's averaged 50 plus transactions annually, specializing in REO and institutional sales. They don't just navigate complex deals, they thrive in them, turning distressed properties in high demand scenarios into seamless closings. He's served not only the clients, but the industry itself, leading the 2025 President of the RealMLS and chairing Jacksonville's Historic Preservation Commission. A true operations, a leadership pro. They bring the rare combines of both on-the-ground knowledge and high-level strategic thinking. A Jacksonville native and father of 2, this guest exemplifies service, discipline, and long-term success in one of Florida's most dynamic markets. Let's welcome Ethan Gregory to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I enjoyed the podcast, and I'm looking forward to sharing my stories with everybody in the market and hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And you're bringing a new angle to the show, because I haven't had anyone on here that I can think of, in your episode 284, that specializes in this area of real estate, with the REOs and institutional sales, as I guess as ChatGPT defined from your bio there. I didn't like the way it had me tripped up, because it was saying they instead of, singular you. I don't know where. I should have read that before. I had it created and I scanned it, and I should have read it out loud, and I would have picked up those things. But let's kick off the show. This is the easy one, because you get into real estate very young, shortly out of University of Florida. But you go to University of Florida. What did Ethan envision himself doing as a career? I mean, was real estate actually on your mind at that time, or?
A little bit. So I graduated from the University of Florida in 2004, and I got a degree in sociology, which a lot of people don't use their degrees, and I certainly don't technically use my sociology degree. But I grew up around real estate. My father was a commercial real estate broker here in Jacksonville. He worked for a number of companies. He actually served with the Commercial Alliance of Realtors and on the NEFAR board 1 year as well too. So I kind of always grew up around it. So when I got out of college, I decided what I wanted to do. Didn't want to do anything with my degree necessarily. So I got into real estate and wanted to do some investing. I found a business partner. We were buying houses, fixing them up, selling them, doing investor flipping, just throughout Northeast Florida here. And
speak a little bit about that time period here in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. The early before 2007, 8, yeah. Where things, I think it's somewhere in 2006, things start to go south.
Sure.
I think we saw values peak out at that time, and all of a sudden values started to drop a little bit. But the opportunities, although there's still opportunities today, but the amount of homes that were there for you to do these fix and flips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of opportunities there, and it was a lot driven by buyers could do in the marketplace there. Mm-hmm. At the time, I think there were some favorable interest rates and incentives from the government following 2001, and so there was some great opportunities there in the market in general. And there's some similarities today. We saw, a great run up in prices and a lot of fever in the market from 2020 and a few years after that. And now we're seeing a little slowdown in reaction to that. Prices got a little high back then in the mid 2000s, and maybe prices got a little high here. Interest rates maybe were held low too long, that kind of thing. So we're seeing a little bit of a market adjustment because of that.
So, Dad's in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you a little bit of taste of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Opportunities there. You're able to do some. Were you pretty much doing the flips full time, or were you practicing as a? When do you get your real estate license?
Sure, I got my real estate license in 2004, right after I graduated. Okay. And I was doing the flips, and I did a couple transactions here and there, friends and stuff like that you meet that are, willing to trust you as 18-year-old. I was a little young looking, so it took a little trust. But that's kind of how it all got started for me. Did a few sales here and there. And then when the market kind of changed, you talk about 2006, 2008, 2009. Anybody who's around at that time knows the difficulties that we had, just a tremendous amount of inventory. We think about inventory right now being high, and we're just kind of like near an average, historically average amount of inventory. And I think I looked at some stats maybe a while ago, like in 2010 or 11, I think there was like a 23-month supply of homes, depending on where you're at, which is crazy, and so which is wild to think about.
Yeah.
People just weren't buying. And so, and during that time period when things changed, I decided, well, I'm not making any money doing this flipping thing. I'll just, be like a regular real estate agent, and I started doing a lot of short sales with the company, and we did a ton of those.
Speak of that a little bit, of that transition, because I would imagine in 2004 and 5, no one really knew what a short sale was. You're doing the flips, and I'm sure you're able to acquire some of these homes, because older homes or whatever, because they didn't owe that much, or whatever, you were able to acquire them out. The values are going up so high, so as soon as you just did any sort of new flooring paint job, it was worth that much more, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think
it felt like it at the time.
Yeah, it felt like it. I think a lot of people, were today, obviously one of the major things like people do in Florida is add a pool to the house. You can't get a dollar for dollar return on that.
No.
An investment, where there you were seeing a dollar for dollars return on investment for certain things that you were doing, and upgrading the house, that type of thing. But then you start to see, when do you start to notice or start to realize, hold on, this market's changing, and it happens pretty quickly, and then learn, I got to figure out how to do a short sale.
Oh, how did I figure that out when I didn't have any money? That's a lot of that. It gets real at that point.
Yeah.
But all joking aside, it was a really an educational thing at that point. I had to figure out a new way to do business. People didn't have a ton of equity. These were the sellers that could You had to learn how to do short sales, how to coach up your sellers to do short sales, form partnerships with title companies, learn how the ropes work dealing with the banks, to negotiate the short sale down, and then, just fighting the fight and really, advocating for your sellers to keep them out of foreclosure and help save their credit, get them forgiven of all that debt.
Right.
It was, I want to say it was a crusade, but sometimes you felt like, you were doing this a lot of times, I got to help these people. I cannot let them go into foreclosure.
Right.
And that was just is what you had to do at the time. Yeah.
Your brokerage at the time, were you working with that at the time?
No, it was a different brokerage, yeah.
Okay, so you're a different brokerage. One of the topics I always bring up, everyone knows if they listen to the show regularly, is your choice of brokerage. And obviously at this time, either you're really savvy, or you have a leadership that's going, hey, the wind is changing directions, we need to change the sales and to start conquering. Because obviously I know, I've had many great agents who've been on the show who went through this period of time. Obviously, we know a lot of people dropped out of the business, didn't want to acclimate to it. But obviously, the REOs and the short sales, you needed to learn that if you wanted to thrive in that time period.
Exactly, yeah.
What were you given guidance, or is this something you dove in yourself? What?
It was something I really just dove into. I had a group that we work with that's really specialized in short sales. Like I mentioned, my father did commercial real estate, so staying with him wasn't going to do me. It helped me grow